Alright, I have the hiccups. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. We're going to mark for our elastics on this side with the gaping hole. Oh man, hiccups are ruining everything. I'm going to use a regular ink pen. I just kind of, here, let's show you how I do this. I set it on there, but then because I have to get to the fabric, I slide it exactly to the left, and then I will slide it exactly to the right, although my marks are only on one side of my pattern. And then to do the back, I literally, so you place it on and then slide it that way. So it's lined up left and right, but just shifted that way some. Put a mark. Line it up left and right, but slide it that way. Put a mark. Alright, so I have 4 marks. I can transfer that to the inside, to the what will be the outside of the diaper, so I can see them later. Kind of important to be able to see them. Because when I turn this, those marks that I just made, the first set, they'll be on the inside of the diaper, and I need them to be visible. Alright, so let's cut the corners. I'm going to cut this. So the reason that you cut the corners is there's more fabric on the outside of the turn than will fit on the inside of the turn. You have to put all of that fabric in there when you turn it. And so I just want there to be less fabric, so it'll be less bunched up when you turn it inside out or right side out. So I'm going to cut on all of the outside turns. I'm going to cut to about till about the 1/8 of an inch from the seam. Anytime there's an outside curve, just cut that off. With a corner this sharp like this, you pretty much just have to cut at an angle. I typically like to, cut it back just a little bit further. But, you'll know if you cut it too much because your turner or your pointy object that you use to make your edges sharp will poke all the way through, and you don't want that. So stay about 1/8 of an inch away. Alright, I'll show you my pointy object if you show me yours. Right here. This is the screwdriver that came with my snap pliers. And I don't use it nearly as often for my snap pliers as I do the turning the diapers. I'm trying to make sure this is the correct next step. Sometimes I get these steps out of order and I have to backtrack a little bit. I think I did that yesterday on the comic and navy curtain diaper. I make mistakes too. Turning these the right side out. I like to stick my fingers way up in there and just kind of rub that out. Alright. Oh man, this is actually turning out great. It's so soft. It's almost as soft as that minky I just did a couple days ago. Alright, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to make our elastic casings. Let's go ahead and move over to the sewing machine and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so what I like to do to get the seam, because the seam will be like this a little bit. Let me see if I can try to, it won't come out all the way. And so to get that seam to push out of the fabric, I take the fabric between my fingers and I just kind of rub it a little bit. I just kind of wiggle it back and forth until that seam works its way out to the outside edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over about half an inch or so, maybe a little bit more, and I want to back stitch at every edge. So go ahead and put a couple stitches in, reverse, and then you can go ahead and sew an entire casing. So I'm just going to run down the entire length until I get to that other mark. Rub that out there. Back stitch, pull that out of there. So what you have, sorry about the shaking, is I back stitched at each end, and now I have a tube that I can put the elastic through. But before I go ahead and put the elastic through, let's do the other two elastic casings. There's an elastic casing, or there's an elastic piece that goes across the back of this diaper, and then one around each leg. So the one that you just saw me do, that's the back. Now let's do the legs. Back, forward a couple stitches, backward a couple stitches. As many diapers as I've done this week, I would probably be running out of bobbin thread on this one, on this diaper, so watch out for that. I'm just gonna keep tension on this edge here. Make sure that seam is all the way out. Rub on it. I forgot a step. Or didn't I? No, I didn't. I was gonna say I forgot to poke my corners sharp, but they look sharp. I think I did it already. The only way to find out is to review the video. Maybe, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like I did that part. Well, we'll do it then. Let's stick the screwdriver up into that corner so that it's nice and sharp. And then I kind of like to rub it down to down the side, because that's kind of a curve right there, and I want to try to hold that shape as well as possible, as much as possible. Yeah, it looks like I did do that part. Okay, I'm not crazy, or I am. That's okay. Alright, looks okay. Let's do that third casing and start inserting our elastic. I'll rub that out there so that seam is all the way to the edge. Back stitch. I am staying, for my machine anyway, on the second line. You just want to make sure that the elastic casing is bigger than your elastic. It will fit in there if it's smaller than your elastic, but it will cause your elastic to not bounce back as well as it should. And so you won't get as much spring in your elastic, and the diapers will feel loose. Too loose. You don't want that. You want them nice and tight. Hold the poop. Alright, casing there. That's the one I just did. And here's the other leg. Alright, so let me cut the threads real quick and we'll get some elastic. Man, I love using t-shirt knit. It feels like, I don't know, a pair of underwear. Kind of looks like a pair of underwear. Maybe it's the color. Alright, so to get your elastic the right length, I pretty much just stretch a piece of elastic from one end of the casing to the other, pretty much as tight as it'll get, add a little bit to the end, and cut it there. I like to make two exactly the same, one for each side. The reason that I do that is because I want them to be the same. One leg being larger than the other would not feel very good. So imagine if you had a pair of underwear where one leg was larger than the other. I think I would have to throw that pair away. So let's make sure that the two are the same. And then across the back, it doesn't have to be exactly the same length as those two. So you can grab it on one end, stretch it across, kind of give it a little bit more, and cut it there. The way that I'm doing it right now, where you create the casing first and then you insert the elastic, is actually more adjustable than the method I chose yesterday with the comic and navy diaper. With the comic and navy diaper, I actually tacked the elastic down on both ends prior to turning, and then I sewed alongside the elastic as I was top stitching around. That method to me is harder, but the reason that I did it is because I like to show different methods and different options. That's why I pinned this diaper today to sew it, and I used the regular foot. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this elastic piece. This is the one that I cut for across the back of the diaper. I'm actually going to poke a safety pin through it. Now, tomorrow I should have a bodkin, as I ordered one on Amazon, and I'll show you what it'll look like to use a bodkin. I may not be able to get the bodkin in this tiny little diaper because as I understand it, it's about that long, and so it may not even work for this newborn diaper, but it'll definitely work for my one size diapers. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to poke the elastic up into this diaper, and I'm going to turn it so that it goes down this channel. And then I'm going to work it all the way until it is about right here. So maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch from the mark that I just made. And then I'm going to sew on that mark. And once this end of the elastic is tacked down, I'm going to continue fishing this safety pin through to the other side, and then I'll sew it down on that side, and it'll be scrunched in the middle. So let's get started. "13-minute video. Is that too long? I can't decide what the good length of a video should be. The optimal length. This one's going to be a little bit longer because I got my hands full. This newborn diaper is so little that I can barely get my fingers up into the wings of this to get the elastic casing put in, or the elastic put in the casing. I had that problem on the Minky one as well. And completely different problems on the comic and navy diaper though, just because I chose a different method for inserting the elastic. So on that line there, back and forth, call it done. Looks like my thread is twisted or something. It's not, it's just optical illusion. Alright, keep threading this safety pin through there. I'm actually going to take the safety pin all the way to the end of the wing. So it's clear over here now. Hopefully that'll give me the right tension. And when you are done, you should have a diaper that's an elastic that's nice and scrunched up when it's relaxed, when you let go of it. And then you should be able to completely stretch. I think I've gone to the wrong side of that. Completely stretch the fabric, completely straight. So that's the goal there. Let's get our safety pin out of there and do the other two. I'm not going to make you watch. Let's do those other two.